So, hello everyone. So I thought it was, we do a lot of Samba-AD every day, and I thought it was interesting to give some feedback from what we see on real networks and what's pain points and what's going well. And so, well, Active Directory is here to serve. And Active Directory does live by itself, and it's the cornerstone of IT systems. The standard in Microsoft AD, and Samba, even if it's a re-implementation, but it's not 100% complete, and it's not 100% copycat. So most of the time, life is easy. It works well. The team, thanks the Samba team, done a good work, but sometimes it needs some hard work to make it work. So some areas we will cover, it's just many different subjects. There are many others, but wanted to, I have to keep a few subjects for next year. And so we will talk about integrating with other identity management tools, integrating with security audit tools, hardening with smart cards, and fighting hostile endpoints. Sometimes they can be, when there are a lot of them, it's hard to deal with. And also talking about Active Directory and Linux clients, because from our point of view, Samba Active Directory is a very good option for mixed network, even for dealing with Linux clients. So one of the use cases that is very common in France, it's in the junior high school and high school. Google Workspace is very, very common. So you need to have synchronization, otherwise you cannot be in the game. Actually, Google is using the dealers technique. Yeah, they are using people to Google Apps from a very young age, so they will be addicted later. And well, so we have to do with that. And since it's free for schools, it's just the first dose is always free. Google provides a DLL for its for syncing to MSAD to Google Apps, but well, a DLL on Samba, nah, it doesn't work, and I wouldn't want it. So what's the cool thing is that Samba provides extra hashes. When you change password, you can have a crypt SHA-2 and SHA-5, and actually that's what Google wants for its password hashes. So just a little bit of Python scripting, and it works. And compared to Microsoft solution, the Google solution, you just have to put it on the PDC. You don't have to run it on every DC, because when you are the DLL of Google have to catch the password change, so you have to put everywhere. In this case, we are just, since we have the password hashes that are created into the supplemental credential, you don't need to have this script everywhere. So this one was quite easy. There is a GitHub repo for that. And once people have been hooked onto Google Apps, when they are getting into companies, they are hooked again on Microsoft tools with Word and Outlook. And so Office 365 is unfortunately very common in France, too common. So Azure AD is something that you have, it's a must-have. Well, Azure AD, or whatever it's called now, it works fine with Samba-AD, with current Samba-AD, but it didn't work a few years ago. And moreover, you need a Windows server and DC sync right. So at that time, we created also a script called Azure AD Connect, Samba 4. The naming is not very creative, but well, we have done our best. So Entra ID hashes are derived from NT-hash. It's a PBKDF2. So you can just have to get that to put it in the right number of round trip. And then you can sync it to Entra ID. And actually it works. It was not very hard from just getting the data. It was just Microsoft binary XML is not the best protocol, not the easiest protocol to work with, and not always very well documented. So we get also a GitHub repo for that. And if you try to use it, you'll see that there is no password right back. Is it a bug or a feature? I think it's. I trust more my local Active Directories than someone else's computer, so I prefer to do it that way. Samba-AD and OpenLDAP. I think there is intervention is here too. Arvid. And so it's quite a common scenario because in most large entities, you don't have only one set of users. Most of the time, you have applications that have to be shared with external people. And so be it a university or ministry, you will have internal users that are in AD and external users that are somewhere else. But those external users are using same application. Some applications are used by both. So in order to have a real working solution, internal users have to be synced into the external database. Most often it's OpenLDAP. And so what's cool is SamDB, and Python scripting is king. It's very easy to just prototype and make a working solution, and get Samba-AD to OpenLDAP or OpenLDAP Samba-AD synchronization. You can either use a password scheme that we talked before, SHA-2 or SHA-5, or you can also try to play with supplemental credential. And sometimes you'll find some strange stuff, like in Microsoft 2025, they have new ciphers that are not documented. So when you open the hood and you look under, it's sometimes it's not the way it should be. And for syncing password from OpenLDAP to Samba-AD, there is some R that you can push empty hashes, but it's not cool anymore. And you can also play with supplemental credential to reinject stuff. So that was for integration with other identity management tools that are running around. And so another thing that we regularly, it's almost every month at every client, they now have security audits and security audit tools to cater for their Active Directory configuration. So it's very common, and what people want is have good grades. It's the tools is running, and they want good grades at the end. There are common real issues with Samba setups. For example, there are some groups that are missing in Forest Level 2016. There is a bug entry for that, and some wrong default takers in the schema. There are some hard-coded SIDs that should be the domain SID of the current domain, but it was just a domain that was set up in the text file 25 years ago. And other small stuff that can be fixed at runtime. And there are some other issues that those tools are getting wrong because they are looking for stuff that are not implemented in Samba. So they will just say there is a big problem, but there is no problem at all because it's not implemented and it's not needed. And when you deal with those tools, when it's open source, it's easier to get in touch with the person. When it's a proprietary application, you have to try to communicate with them, but sometimes it's hard. And when you have a tool that says that your Active Directory is going to be owned because WMI is not there, well, it's actually it's looking for information through the WMI, but it's not getting it. So it's say your server is cooked. So there are some tools like in France or in French administrations, there is a tool called audit, which is a tool from ANSI that checks for stuff and on the Active Directory. And actually, it does a good job. It's not thorough, but what it does, it does it properly. And there were a few false positives, but we could get in touch with a real person developing it in order to fix those. That's good. In France, there is enough Samba-AD the user base is large enough, so the people care. But there are other tools like Pinkcastle from Netflix. It used to be a French person that was developing that, so we could get in touch with him. It was easy, but now it's an American stuff, and it's complicated. But people want to have good grades, so if you have a Samba and you get bad grades, so you have to try and find a way to fix it. Otherwise, the management will be coming over and asking for something else. Another important thing is integration with CM system. So it's a security information and event management. So it's tools that are getting events from everywhere on your IT system and try to highlight what's wrong with your system. Is there something wrong from a security point of view or performance or whatever? And on Active Directory, most of those systems are used to connect to event log. But event log RPC server is not implemented in Samba-AD, so that's not good. And most CMs are matching event ID from AD server, but most of the events in Samba are not matched to event ID, and most of the events are not categorized at all. It's just a DSDB modify that gets in the log in the JSON format, and you have to take 1 or 2 or 3 JSON logs to put them together in order to make an event. So that would be a little bit of work, but for it to match the Windows behavior to make those guys happy. But I think the logging in Samba could be its own presentation. There is a lot to say about it. And a little quiz. What do you think is the highest logging level in Samba? 500. I think the highest I've seen something like 99 or something like that. Actually, I'm not. Is there some guideline on what people should use for their log level when they are developing, or?
So it goes to 10 for normal users.
But when you're abnormal and
everything else is for developers for medicine.
Okay. Yes. So is there really a 500 somewhere? No. So most of the time we can still work with JSON logs and JSON logs file outputs, and we can provide what is asked for. But it's not out of the box. So if the people are not really dedicated at making it work, it's people the security people will say, I'm missing something in my CM.
I just want to call with 107 is the maximum.
107. Okay, I know.
I was the closest with 25.
So security. So now I want to speak about security hardening with smart cards. I don't know it's in Germany, but in France currently it's quite a subject. Smart cards for authentication, and they're getting trendy. We get more and more requests for this kind of setup, and so the timing was great because there have been a lot of work in PKI init by Catalyst recently, thanks to financing from the French government. And now it works very well. You just need a working PKI, which is not always very easy to get at clients. It's perhaps that's very hard to. That's something is not very well understood. And getting the proper OID configured in your certificates, and then you go. So in order to get the even if you have your PKI that is working, one of the issues is how do you get the certificate to the end users and to the computers. So there is Microsoft solution for that. It's Active Directory Certificate Service. It provides the PKI and the distribution server, and PKI can be externalized. And there is a protocol called a CPCS, I think it was CPCS. And I don't know how you pronounce it in English. And it makes automatic discovery and delivery of certificates for machines or users. And it can be stored on the disk, on the TPM, or on the smart card. Active Directory licensing is not clear if client access license are necessary or not. So last summer, there was one guy at the office, Simon, who started working on ADCS Python. The name is not very inventive either. And the logo is even worse. But well, it's ChatGPT that made this piece of art. So ADCS Python is the certificate templates are coded in Python rather in XML stored in the Active Directory. So it makes it very versatile if you want to provide different templates based on stuff that you cannot. There are many things that you cannot do in Microsoft ADCS because you cannot script enough what you give to people. So that's a very good thing, but there is still something missing, this TPM attestation. It means when your desktop is asking for a certificate for its TPM, you can sign the request with the certificate that is in the TPM chip, and that's not very well documented. So we have to get some help from Microsoft on that. So there is a GitHub repo too, and a little animated GIF. So I want a certificate. I give a URL. He gets his template, certificate template. He makes a CSR. And I have a certificate. Okay. So the certificate part is this way. For the certificates, one of the issuing of certificates is one of the distribution of certificate is one of the big issue in when deploying PKI. So the Microsoft protocol is not very easy. It's a bit could be simpler, but at least it works on every Windows workstation, and there is a Linux client too. So it works on both. I don't know if there is a macOS client for this protocol. So the aim is to be able to tick the smart card only tick box. In Active Directory, you can say that the user won't have password. So it creates a random password in Active Directory. And this password has to be rotated. And so that has been work that has been done by Catalyst too on making this rotation going on. And once you tick this the tick box, you don't have any passwords left to use on your Active Directory. And so you have to make everything SSO. Keycloak is very good for that. It integrates very well with Kerberos, Samba, and Samba. And it's easy to set up. If you want to try it, it's very good. And so you can have, by fixing every application, you can get everything either in Kerberos or OAuth or SAML. And so it took us something like 8 months. But after that, we had everything that was Kerberized, even our postfix and Dovecot for mails is Kerberized. And so we could get rid of every password. And so now I've got only my key. And yesterday morning for my presentation, I couldn't find my key anymore. and so I was a bit, hopefully I found it again. Because otherwise you cannot log in anymore. it's a bit of a problem. So all of this can be done with Samba-AD. So from a security point of view, we have, I think with Samba, we have reached a security level that makes it very acceptable for every type of structure. Sometimes you got hostile endpoints and applications that will make your Active Directory febrile. One kind of a problem. It was a printer that had a printer on a remote site, and actually the issue was not that the Active Directory had problem or whatever. It's just that the bandwidth was saturated with LDAP queries. So on-site, people couldn't work anymore because the internet connection was saturated. So they call us and to make some debugging, and actually it was a printer driver that was requesting all the Active Directory every few seconds. And since the Active Directory, it was a big client, so it was a large one, so it was, and the connection was saturated, so people couldn't work anymore. So that's the kind of thing that when you got an object class star with scope sub and with base, the base of the Active Directory, yeah, it's not a good idea. And you have some applications that are asking for computed attributes, and a little bit too often. And when you have many endpoints, it's get messy, like token group names or recursive group membership when you ask for, when you put an OID to have a recursive computation. And let's say everybody can make such mistake because we, in our own software, WAPT, we did that. And we got a very, very large client where the security team called us. Well, you are DDoSing our AD. It was not a Samba-AD, it was a Microsoft AD, but we were DDoSing with Microsoft AD, so we fixed that. When you have a few dozens of desktops that is asking, that are a few dozen thousands of desktops that are asking a computed attribute, then even Microsoft Active Directory cannot stand it. We had another application who is asking who am I for the desktop, just to get its own name in a loop every seconds on the PDC with 8,000 endpoints. The PDC is dedicated to answer that because it cannot do anything else. So that's the kind of thing you have to debug and to try to find what's making those kind of queries. Because when it's the OS that makes the query, but it's called by something else running on the computer, you have to debug this to get it working properly. You have also web apps that are querying group memberships at every HTTP request. No caching, nothing. That can get messy very fast too. So all those situations are not specific to Samba Active Directory, but the difference with Microsoft Active Directory is when it's Microsoft, people will say someone else's problem. But when it's Samba, they call you and fix it and ask you to fix it, even if it's not our fault, except one time. So I wanted to finish with Linux. Speaking about Linux client, sometimes people ask, what's the point of Samba Active Directory if tomorrow I have only Linux on my network? First, I think the mix of Linux, Windows, and Mac OS will continue. We have almost no clients that are full Linux or full Mac or full Windows. It's almost a mix of everything. And in any case, Active Directory, there are quite a few things that that could be improved, but it's a very well assembly of Kerberos, LDAP, and everything else. So I think for me, it will still be relevant in the future. So SSSD is for me, for Linux client, SSSD is very mature, and it works very well with Samba-AD. So you can have a working implementation of the client joined computers with on your network, like Linux computers. And but this is not enough. When you are working with people that have been used to Microsoft way of doing things for the last 30 years, you have to adapt the way of working with the current on Linux. Because you don't only have to convince end users to use Linux. I think in many organizations, the problem is not even end users, it's system administrators that are afraid of Linux. So we have to help them to show them that they can take the same habits that they used to have on Windows, and it won't change much on Linux. So it's try to lower the barrier of adoption. So when you have on a modern laptop, you will have encrypted disk with BitLocker, and so on Linux you have Lux. But when you have a company desktop, so you don't want to rely only on the end user, so on the user password, because they can lose it. So on Microsoft, you've got a BitLocker recovery key, and it's stored into the Active Directory for the administrator to get back the computer when the user have lost his password. And so we recreated a WAPD package. WAPD is our own software distribution tool, and actually it's Python scripting, so it can be done with any tool. But we created a Python script in order to get the Lux master key and send it to the Active Directory. So when an administrator needs to get access to the computer, it can still get it. And that's something that in more and more people have encryption, and but this encryption you have to get it enterprise ready. Another thing is local passwords. There is a thing called labs in Windows, in the Windows world, that rotate administrator passwords every 30 days. And that's something, a very common way of dealing with local administrative credentials. And so in Linux, you don't have anything like that. So we also made a Python script to rotate the password and send it into the Active Directory as the same way as Microsoft would do. And so when you go in a remote server administration tools, the Microsoft GUI, you can get your Lux key, or you can get your root password, your user password key. We also, when doing deployment, people are used to have to prepare to pre-join the computer into the domain, so there is no login and password that are sent to the desktop, because when you are creating when you are joining a new computer, if you want to do it automatically, you have to have a login and password into the deployment file. So that's not good. So there is a Microsoft answers to that is to pre-create the entry and create a djoin blob that will be sent to the computer, and the djoin blob contains the name, the password of the computer, and everything for the computer to be joined to the domain. And so we added that for using Python scripting we swapped, and so it makes it more acceptable for Windows people to start to have their Linux desktop provision. And another thing is when you have in enterprise environment and you have your wireless or wired authentication using 802.1x. So you can use a different type of authentication, but the more and more common type of authentication is EAP-TLS. But to do that, you need a certificate, and you need to deploy a certificate. So we can go back to just before the presentation when I was talking about AD certificate service. Is a very good way to push certificates to computers. So there is a client for Windows, which is the default client, original one. And so there is also a client on Linux done by David Mulder. And so that can get your certificate on your computers. So with all of that, you can get a laptop that is taking almost all the security features that you would have on the Windows side and to push them on the Linux side. So France wants Linux desktop. I think everybody saw the news. Well, it's politicians speak, but if they really want it, Tranquil IT will be ready, and Samba-AD and all the community. And cohabitation like I said, of Linux, macOS, and Windows is here to stay for me. I don't think there will be a tsunami of Linux coming tomorrow. And Samba-AD can make every client happy. So it's it's a good take. And currently, there is a great American salesman that is promoting open source in Europe. So it's a good time to, to invest into Samba and to propose it to our clients. It works, really. Thanks. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Hmm?